It was a smooth flight. Looking out of the air at the city of Auckland, I was like, whoa, that's way bigger than I expected. Hello! Then at the airport, I just had to get my luggage on the carousel, and I had this special bag. I've got bike chains. We're allowed to be taking these on the plane. It was so cool being with my mom. For a change, I didn't have to organize everything. Where are we staying for the night? Yay! Mommy's organized the motel. Mom, what's the key?
Here we go.
Oh, it was cool. No worries. No. What's the new thing they say in New Zealand? You're alright. In Australia, no worries. No worries. No worries. Now in New Zealand, you're alright. Oh, good morning. There we go, we just got up. So we were waiting for our camper van. Whoa, our own home on wheels. New home for the next 2 weeks. We had the freedom of having our own camper van, so we could stop off wherever we wanted to go. And my mom's running around in a new home already having fun.
And then we hit the road.
And as we were cruising out, there was this huge rainbow. It was like, yeah, welcome, enjoy your journey. Woohoo! So this was the team. My mom was the driver, and I was the navigator.
Oh, I'm almost pulling my hair out. I'm like, ah!
So I wasn't so good at this whole map reading thing, but it's cool. Eventually we got sorted, and we were such a good team then. The map. That's where our journey started. And this was going to be our guide for the next 2 weeks. So we had this general roadmap of places that we could go to, and before my mom came out to join me, she had sussed out a few cool places for us to go to. Hey, that was that. We were hitting the road. Take this word in. Green. This is something that really comes to mind when I think of New Zealand. Green, green, green. The scenery is so green and lush with vegetation. Whoa, a whole museum dedicated just to clocks. And there was this really sweet lady, and she was like our tour guide. You're just standing there. All over the show, they really had some funky clocks. There was this dog clock.
Some of them were sick.
He would just like flick his little tongue out. Then there was another clock. You would take it right to the top, and during the day it would just come down.
It takes 24 hours to come down by its own weight from the top to the bottom.
Then there was a really wacky clock.
Because they're in the wrong place.
That's a bit confusing.
You've got a choice of tunes.
We got to see the first CDs. Or actually what it was this clock. You'd put in this disc, and then chimes would just play like ding, 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 ding. The cuckoo clocks. But firstly, she had to wind them all up, and that was a mission. She was running up and down. She wound it all up, and then it was cuckoo crazy, that place. Okay, we went to these falls. They were called Whangarei Falls, something like that. One really strange experience, I was walking across the bridge, and then this other little kid was walking towards me. Hi, hi. Next thing out of the blue, he just goes, and I was like, whoa, ah! And then he just carried on walking. Our first experience at a camper van park, that's where we're sleeping tonight. This is the caravan park we're staying in. It was very basic, the facilities. You would just drive in, there would be a few sections where you camp your camper van, and that's it. So looking at it, we did so much in one day. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Well, hello, good morning to you. Today's another big traveling day. From the campsite, we're cruising along to Ferry.
Kerry, they had the oldest house in the whole of New Zealand and the oldest stone building in the whole of Australasia. So it's cool, we got to walk around and see what they had in this house. We had to take our shoes off again. Woo! No shoes. Now firstly there's the Stone Store, which is the country's oldest surviving stone building. It was built in 1832 to 1836. Then right next to it, the wooden house is called Kemp House, and this is the oldest surviving European building in New Zealand. And we had to stop at a
Waterfall called Rainbow Falls.
very cool. The falls would crash into the water.
This huge mist.
To rise up from where the waterfall would crash, we took a little walk down to what was called the Ferry pool. And whilst we were driving, we would just pass through these small, quaint little towns. One of the stops was called Waipu,
The House of Memory.
and we went cruising through this little town called Helensville. And we got to this little town called Manganui. We got to do some chilling.
And there at Manganui, we got a deluxe burger.
And we were driving again. Woo!
Then we're cruising on again. Stop! And I saw this one awesome picture. I said, wow, let's go back.
And there I was on the floor just trying to get a cool shot of
The cows there, the mountains on the side. There's grass everywhere.
Then we're driving along again.
The Bush Ferry Dairy.
And it was just this quaint little shop.
We're the best dairy in New Zealand.
And she was letting us try these new fruits. They had a fruit called a persimmon.
It looked like a tomato, but it tasted more like a pear.
That's pretty interesting.
Tried a new ice cream there.
And I got myself some semolina, and my mom was going to make me some porridge with it. Hey, we had all these stops along the way of things we didn't expect. Whew. There was this amazing rustic looking church. There was this giant tree trunk. That looks good. Take a little walk around it. And boom!
That's a big catch.
You discovered there was actually a staircase.
It took a guy 300 hours with a chainsaw to carve out this thing, and then another 200 hours for other guys to polish it off.
And then my mom and I just took a stroll around this place.
You see, if there's something missing in your life, it's probably a spinning top.
Okay, so they had a lot of these little wooden spinning tops.
Now, our big adventure goes. a dead end.
Dead end! There was this giant cliff in front of us and the waves were just crashing against it.
And you couldn't go anywhere else.
Okay, this isn't funny anymore.
And next thing, the petrol light comes on, red. Ooh.
So we didn't know what to do, there was nowhere to go. Whoa, it was crazy. We're going nowhere. We're going nowhere.
For like 3 seconds, we just became silent and we thought we were stuck. We're in range of the tide. And guess where we were? At the mouth of a river.
My mom was out, she was grabbing towels,
Put the towels underneath them,
was trying to shove them under the wheel.
trying to make a little path out.
I looked at my phone.
No reception.
Oh, now what?
And our first impulse was to just run and try to see if there's anybody. I went one direction, my mom went the other.
And I went sprinting for the hills.
And I was going to see if I could get to the top of it and try and get a reception there.
Hey, so I'm sprinting and sprinting.
I blatantly said, we need a miracle.
Next thing I looked back,
Back at my mom as she's waving her hands frantically. Yeah!
a car was coming.
I was happy, but there was still doubt. I thought, okay, this car, it's one car.
How's this car gonna pull a huge camper van out?
Next thing, no kidding, running back.
Whoa.
2 minibuses pull up full of guys. Ah, boom! And the car came out.
And we were free. So luckily we had an escort to take us out of here.
And we were following behind these cars and we went across little rivers.
It would get all bumpy with our camper van, but we're just so happy that we're free.
We get out, and now there's still the issue with the petrol light. No worries.
Found a filling station.
Nonetheless, we had an action-packed day.
Oh, the next morning was such a good feeling to be waking up in our camper van and that we had not lost it to the 90-miler beach.
Adios.
I found the names really interesting in New Zealand.
Manganui.
Keri,
Manganui.
Paia.
Kataya.
And I discovered in New Zealand, if it says a WH, it's actually pronounced a. My mom and I got up
And we're cruising along all the way
to the furthest, most northern point of New Zealand. It was called
Cape Reinga.
board showing all these huge directions and
Different locations in the world and how far they are. So let's see over that side, that's the Pacific. We come around this side just past the lighthouse where it's so choppy. And that over there is the Tasman Sea. Right over here. There's the furthest part of the north.
Now the coolest part was, okay, there was the cool lighthouse and everything, but once we got down there was a signboard pointing out all these different locations in the world, and it's showing what direction and how far to that place. And I was like, oh cool, I'm still going to Los Angeles. Oh look, there's London. And I was like looking so forward to all the other places I'll be going to on my travels.
We just had to wash the car because man, the car was pretty dirty after our big expedition.
So we got to a car wash and it was the perfect car wash. It would spray water up.
And we went all the way to a place where we had to catch a ferry.
My mom just had to drive the camper van up onto the ferry, and I was just walking around the ferry, exploring it, enjoying the scenery. And my mom had the camera and she was also doing her own mission, just filming me.
From there we went cruising along.
The scenery and the views we would experience just from this camper van, wow, we could have just sat in the camper van and drove around for the whole 2 weeks. There was this one part where there was this huge rainbow. and they got this road.
This is the Waipapi forest. Just take a look at this. All the vegetation is falling on to the road. It's awesome.
And for 18 kilometers, the forest is right on the edge of this road. Like you're driving through this tropical rainforest.
And I think our next big stop was
This huge tree,
not to mention the oldest, over 2,000 years old,
they think it sprouted
in the year of Christ.
and it was gigantic. It was so cool just looking at this tree and thinking like, wow, this tree was like sprouting when Jesus was walking the earth. But it was just a just cool way to walk through this forest, enjoying all the scenery. I was having such a chill time, and it was really fun with my mom behind me with the camera, because then my mind was totally off it, and she was the camera lady, and I was just enjoying this walk. And then we hit the road again.
And then we got to our overnight stop.
Bailey's Beach Caravan Park.
And my mom and I really came out of season for the night.
And right next to where we were staying for the night, they had the
Funky fish for supper last night.
It was just this cool restaurant, and I got to try out some new food.
You see, something that's real big here is called kumara.
Basically, it's just sweet potato.
And they can do all special things with it.
Even the bathroom was an experience. And it was just a very festive restaurant.
Now, I'm sure you know what a kauri is by now. So it's huge trees here in the museum.
We were really getting to know everything there is to know about a kauri.
Went round to the Kauri Museum. So there's a big stop on our tour here in New Zealand.
And here they had this huge tree which was like this timeline on it, and you got to see all the huge saws. And it was just walking around seeing everything associated with kauris. And there's this one place, and they had these huge bugs on the wall. And yeah, the Kauri Kingdom, and my mum and I got to walk around that.
And that was so cool. They had like this big mill there showing how they would cut the kauris and...
Agathos Australis. Okay, so that's known as the kauri. It is New Zealand's biggest but not the tallest species of tree in the country. It has a smooth bark and small oval leaves. Yeah, that's the kauri. So it was cool walking around this museum and all, yet I can say it was interesting yet not very entertaining. Yeah, that's the thing with traveling. You do the exciting stuff where there's a lot of hype, but at the same time, you also got to do the normal things of, hey, walking around this museum. I guess it adds rhythm to the travels, doing the exciting stuff and the normal stuff. And we were driving again. And then driving now, there were these awesome sea views.
Just look at this. That's panoramic view.
And my mom and I would just stop off wherever and just get really cool photos of the scenery and everything. Wait!
Okay, let's be on with the journey. And today our big stop is going to be Coromandel.
Because of its long isolation from the rest of the world, New Zealand has extraordinary flora and fauna. Get this, about 80% of the flora in New Zealand occurs only in New Zealand. We got to this natural
Marine nature reserve.
and this place just had this very quiet, tranquil vibe about it. The sun was going down and it was a very cool way for my mom and I to unwind after a hectic traveling day. I was having fun, just missioning around with the camera, filming this natural reserve, and we found these little shells. It was like, this is different. Tea break! So my mom and I took a little rest from all this driving. I got the 2 mugs and we were heading away into this forest for a good cup of tea. It was so good just sitting here and having this tea break because we still got so much action we're going to be getting up to in New Zealand. I'm going to be going to a Maori village. Then I'm going to climb on this thing called a luge and go cruising down the side of a mountain. And finally, I'm going to be learning a bit about honesty in a place called Whitianga.